What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And today we have a 04 Yukon XL, basically a Suburban. So what we're going to be doing is doing a engine swap. This engine actually was swapped out not long ago, maybe about a year ago, maybe somewhere around there. But the person who did it kind of halfway did it. You can look right there, that is red silicone for exhaust manifold gaskets on these. First of all, don't ever use red silicone on an engine with O2 sensor. It will throw a O2 sensor code because the fumes off of it are more potent, I guess you could say, than like gray silicone and stuff. If any of y'all have ever used it, you can tell it kind of burns your nostrils whenever you're using it. And then he actually took fender bolts out for some of the exhaust manifold bolts also, but the engine does have some misfires going on with it. I think it has more miles on it than the guy who replaced it said it did. It's supposed to only have like 120,000, but it is misfiring bad. We've already checked injectors, coils, put new coils, new plugs, new wires, and I think it's this cylinder right here. It is low on compression, so I believe that is the culprit. It's got low compression on it and it's just misfiring. But anyway, we ain't gonna go through that whole story. We do have another engine. It comes from a guy on Facebook Marketplace, and he showed the odometer of everything. It's supposed to have like 132,000 miles on it. So let's just jump right in here, and first thing I'm going to do, since the battery is already out, we're going to remove the intake manifold. That just gives you more clearance, like vertical wise, for when you're lifting it, and it gets you access to some of the upper bell housing bolts, so you don't have to go underneath to do it. And you can get a lot more of the connectors and stuff off with that out of the way. So I'm going to pull the intake system right here off, air intake. Excuse me, I'm going to pull the air intake system off. Then we're going to pull the intake manifold off. Let me get this air intake out of the way. You do have a connector, and then you got 4 Phillips heads, or you can use flat heads too, screws that hold the air box on, and then you got one hose clamp connector right there. So we're also going to pull this cover off. I believe that is an 8mm that holds that on. So let me get this out of the way and pull the air box off, and I'll show you what you need to do to get the actual intake manifold off. All right, with this air intake off, you can get a better view of everything. We did take off a few things. We took the connector for the throttle body off because this is the drive-by-wire. Here is your purge valve right there. You just push in this little white piece and pull straight up. There's a connector on it. Here's your injector connectors. There's a few different styles on these LS engines. This right here, normally they have like a little gray safety clip on it. You pull straight up, and then you can just push in and pull out on these. Some of them, like I said, there's a few different styles, so it depends on what style you have as to how they come off. Then we have a crankcase vent right there, goes to the back right behind the throttle body. And you got this line, which was broke right here. We'll replace that while I got it out, but that was broke. Just take that off. Then here's another crankcase vent right there, and then we're going to take this cover off. That's for your engine cover, and it protects your wiring harness. We're going to pull that off. Then I'm going to get all these injectors and coil wires off, and then once I get that off, I'm going to pull the fuel rail off, and it should be 4 8mm bolts. We'll take those off, pull it out, and lay it out of the way because I didn't bring my fuel injector disconnect tool. So I'm just going to lay it out of the way for right now, and then when I come back, I'll take it off. And then once I do that, I'll bring it back and show you where all the intake gasket bolts are, not gasket, but the intake manifold bolts are. We got the fuel rails and pretty much all the connectors and stuff off. Like I said, I do not have my quick disconnect tool for this with me, so I'll have to get it next time whenever I do come back, because I still have to take I know I ain't gonna get to that today, but we're gonna go ahead and take this intake manifold off. And if you look, there's these little 8mm bolts right there. There's what, 5 on this side, and should be 5 on the other. Yep. And you take those off, And you can take the throttle body off if you want to. If you want to leave it on the truck, when you take this off, you can just take these, I think there's three 10 millimeters on here. But if you want to take it off with there'll be 2 water lines on this most likely. And you can take them off. There's one right here, and then there's one right here that it runs to also. But I'm going to probably take the throttle body off first, just so I can get to those cooling lines a little bit easier. That's just a personal preference of mine. So I'm going to do that and take this intake off. Once I get it off, bring y'all right back. We got the intake off now, and as you can see how dirty it is, I went ahead and took the ground wire off the back right there behind the valley plate. You can see that little bolt right on the back. Disconnected the cam sensor and the oil pressure sensor right there, and went ahead and disconnected the knock sensors. And then I went ahead and took the upper radiator shroud off. All it has is these 4 little pop clips right there, 2 on each side, and then 2 10 millimeters on top, and it lifts up and gives you a lot more room to view stuff. And we're going to try to take this fan off now. And I do have a catch pan underneath there because there is coolant coming out of this little coolant pipe right there. I don't have my fan clutch tool with me, but I do have a crescent wrench and a hammer, so we'll see if we can knock this thing off real quick and see if we can get her off. But let me when you do this, if you try to use it with that method with a like crescent wrench or a pipe wrench or something and a hammer, leave the belt on. That will keep some tension on it for you to hit against and try to break it loose. We got the fan off, went ahead and took the lower radiator hose and the upper radiator hose off on here. Upper goes here, lower's right there. We removed the clamps for the heater hoses. We'll see if they will move for me. No, they will not. I do have some hose pliers you can use to move those around with, but I'm gonna go ahead and take this belt off right here. I believe it is a 15. Yeah. Which that tensioner is pretty crusty anyway. I'll try to hold y'all with that hand so I can take it off real quick. Alright. The belt's pretty crusty, I do say so myself too. Alright. And I'm just piling everything up right here. Also, we'll be taking the radiator out also. Something moved. I can hear it. But now we're going to take the AC belt off. It does use a 3/8 ratchet right there, and you just pull it down and take the belt off. This does have a separate belt for the AC. You can see how I'm moving it right there. You know, I'll have to set y'all down real quick so I can take this off. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take this alternator off and these heater hoses right here. And then once I do that, next thing I'm going to start doing is taking the exhaust manifolds off, or taking them loose from the engine. As you can see, I did go quite a bit further. We got the radiator out, we got that whole accessory bracket out right there. Took the coils off of top of this, and something I wanted to show y'all. Where was it? Come on, where is it at? It's the actual, there it is. This is the coolant temperature sensor wires. As you can see, this is the type of stuff that I'm dealing with on this truck right now. Like I said, the guy who put this engine in, he just shouldn't be working on cars. Let's just say that. I mean, look at all the red silicone on the exhaust. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So I just wanted to show y'all a lot of what I'm having to deal with on this engine. So, but there's our pile of stuff so far. On these accessory bracket on this driver's side, you should have, I took the power steering pump off with it because I forgot to bring my pulley puller with me. So should have 3 on the top, 1 on the bottom, and then there's a bracket on the back of the power steering pump that bolts up right here. And every bit of that is 15 millimeters. And then I took all these little wiring harnesses and stuff off. This little bracket's held on with 2 10 millimeters. And then the ground wire for the battery right here is held on with a 13 at the bottom down there. But I'm going to continue on to this. I'm going to go ahead and stay on this side. Also, you can see the temp sensor is broken on this one. But I'm going to continue on this side. There's normally 5 10 millimeter bolts, or 6 actually. Sorry, I forgot about those 2 in the middle. But there's normally about 6 10 millimeter bolts that hold this manifold on. This one right here only has 4 because the front and the rear broke, which is pretty common on these. I bet it's the same way on the passenger side. But we're going to continue on to this. Go ahead and get where I can lay the exhaust manifold over to the side, and I may even take it out completely depending on how wet the ground is, because we had a really bad storm yesterday and the ground is soaked. I mean, you can see the ground right there. That's just from me walking on it, how wet it is. But I'm going to get these exhaust manifolds off and go ahead and take the other coils off on this side. Normally you have, I think 1 2 3 4 5 10 millimeter bolts that hold the coil bracket on. This only have 4, which that's pretty common too, so I ain't upset about that. But you take those off and take the coil wires off, and then it should come right off. All right, so as you can tell, I took a lot more off. We took the AC compressor off on this right here. There was 4 bolts on the side down in here. 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. The bottom front one you have to take out with the compressor, will not come all the way out. Then you have 2 13 millimeters for your lines. This had just a little bit of free on it. It wasn't much. Took probably 5-10 seconds for it to come out. I did check before I pulled the line, because if it had a lot in there, I was just going to leave the compressor on here and then maneuver around it. But it didn't have hardly any pressure behind it, so I just took that off. And then you got 1 connector right here. Oh, wrong one. Where is it? All right, well, you got a connector somewhere. Oh, there it is. It's right there, and that goes to it. And then you got 1 other connector right here that goes to it as well. And then we got all that off. Now what we're going to try to do is take some of the motor mounts bolts out of this. And I did take 1 bell housing bolt out on the very top, and he's missing like 4 bell housing bolts on this too. As you can see, this was kind of a halfway put together job. And I did want to show y'all, the driver's side did have a gasket on there, but look at that. It's all red silicone. Like even the bolts. So don't do that. That ain't right. I mean, you can put it on the water pump right there. I mean, you could put just a dab, but you don't have to like glob it on like that. This kind of stuff irks me sometimes. But I'm going to pull the starter off. There should be 2 bolts that hold it in, come straight underneath, and then you got your wires. But I'm just going to let it hang out underneath the car, because I'm not going to take it out. That way I don't have to disconnect all the wires. And then we're going to, once we get the starter out, we can go through there and get the torque converter bolts off. And as you can see, we have a chain file hooked up to the engine. And as I put in the beginning of the video about safety warning, whatever, do not do as I do, do as I say type situation on this, because this is all we have available in the location that I'm at. Normally I would use a cherry picker, but I had no way of getting one over here, and he does live about an hour and 15 minutes away from me. And we have everything disconnected. I went ahead and took the hood off, as you can tell, took The rest of the bell housing bolts, there was only 2 left on the bottom, the starter and the 3 torque converter bolts. And now we are pretty much ready to lift this out of here. So the way I did this is, I'm gonna go around, was put a bolt with a chain connector on the front and on the rear of the heads, like opposite of each other. Put a chain in the middle. We got a chain fall. It's got a little bit of tension on it right now, and it's hung up from an oak tree limb. I know this isn't the safest way to do everything, and I know y'all are gonna probably beat me up in the comment section about it, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And then underneath, just so I can move the truck, we have a 2x4 on the torsion bar underneath the bell housing, so whenever I lift it up, the transmission will fall down onto that 2x4. And for anybody who's wondering, a 36-inch piece of 2x4 will fit between the torsion bars and hold the transmission if you're going to do this. So we're going to try to lift this up out of here, and that kind of an angle right there. We'll see how it goes. It may center up. I may have to push the truck back a hair, but we'll see how this goes. I'm going to try to set y'all up somewhere where we can probably watch this and watch the demise of this. Hope not, but it could be. So, you get y'all set up,
hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test.
Alright, we got it up enough where I need to roll the car back now in order to get it the rest of the way out of the vehicle. Like I said, this isn't an ideal situation, but it is what we have available at the moment. Alright, as you can see, we have the engine out now, and we're going to lower it down in just a minute and put it back on the ground. But here's the engine bay. Probably going to end the video here just because I was hoping to have it out sooner, but it took a little longer doing it this way than I really wanted to. But you can see all the silicone on that. I'm going to have to clean that up. I'm going to have to clean up a bunch of different stuff on here and fix a lot of the wiring and stuff like that. Like I said, there's that again. A couple other little things we got to fix, but we'll get it all done. But I'm just going to end the video right here, and actually let me show y'all that. That's how I did the piece of wood down there just to hold up the transmission. And you can see it goes from the torsion bars, and that keeps it so you can roll it back and forth if you need to. But I'm going to end the video here. It's probably going to be a shorter video than normal, but I appreciate y'all watching it. And if y'all enjoyed the video content, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you haven't already. And there may be another one of these videos, like one more after this, and it may be a couple weeks before I put that one up after I finish it. But I just want to really show pulling the engine out on one of these. But like I said, if y'all like the video, hit all the buttons, and until next time, y'all have a great day.